Hi everyone, it's Adrian from Living Holistic Health here. I just wanted to talk a little bit today about what happens when people suspect they have a problem with gluten. Very often they might be feeling a little bit unwell, that gluten is not reacting very well with their body. So very often people will go and see a doctor and they might get a blood test, or maybe they'll refer them to a gastroenterologist or a specialist to have a bit of a scope put down inside their body and have a bit of a look and see if there's any damage that's down this way and up the other end, to see if there's any damage to the intestines and the digestive system in general, and that will give a bit of a gauge as to where celiac disease is at. But a lot of people don't understand that that isn't the whole story. Gluten and problems with gluten, especially when we're talking about celiac disease in general, very often to do with genetics. And that's the one thing that's often overlooked. There are certain types of genes that predispose people towards celiac disease. So if someone's going to have an issue, and celiac disease is the autoimmune condition, of course, associated, or most directly associated with eating gluten. People with celiac disease eat gluten and it causes them problems. And it can be digestive, can also be, anemia is a very, very common thing. It can have problems with the skin, problems with fatigue, problems with, just general brain function and not feeling very well. So basically what we need to do is, if we're suspecting that gluten is an issue, is obviously investigate it. And these things, are quite common, the scopes and the blood tests that doctors run. But many people will come into our clinic and they'll have these tests done, and there'll be nothing that comes up, or maybe they might say, oh, there might have been an issue with gluten, but we're not really sure. You don't have celiac disease. So what you need to do if you fall into that category is you need to go and get yourself checked out for the genes which predispose people to celiac disease. And they are HLA-DQ2 and HLA-DQ8. So there's two different. You can get that commonly done through your medical practitioner if you ask for it, GP or whoever your healthcare practitioner may be. It's a very, very simple blood test to get done, relatively inexpensive. And if you get the results back from that and they're positive for these genetics, or this genetic predisposition that you have towards celiac disease, and therefore an issue with gluten that you need to be aware of, what that means is that you've got a 97% chance, if you have those genes, of developing celiac disease at some stage. So celiac disease doesn't necessarily develop straight away. It can be something that people don't pick up until much, much later in life, or they can be very, very much unaware of, and for a number of years. So if you're suspecting that you're having an issue with gluten, it's making you feel unwell, or there might be some other things that are coming up, or there's been a history in the family of any other autoimmune conditions, particularly the thyroid, go and get your gene test done and just see if you are positive for these genes. Because if you are positive for these genes, that means that you are predisposed to this, and then you can manage yourself accordingly, okay? Even if you don't have the overt signs of celiac disease then and there, at least you know that you do have the genetic predisposition to it, so that you can make the necessary adjustments to your lifestyle so that you don't go into that full-blown category and you can manage it quite well. All right, so those genes that I mentioned, that's the HLA-DQ and the HLA-DQ8, a common test to get done. If you're suspecting that you're having a problem with gluten, go and get that checked out and looked at, and then you'll be able to manage yourself with a proper nutritional plan accordingly, so that you can live a long, happy and healthy life. And then the reason why we're talking about this is because this is a test that often gets overlooked. In the battery of tests for scopes and other things, the genetic testing often is missed. So if you've been down this pathway, have a look at what you've had done. If you haven't had this genetic test done, speak to your medical practitioner and see if you can get that done, just to give yourself either yes or no. Do I have the genetics for it or not? And then you can make the necessary adjustments. Might save you a lot of time and hassle. Okay, thank you.